Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to see how to configure dynamic routing protocols in ASA. For this demo, I am going to use RIP and OSPF routing protocols. This is the topology I am going to use for this lab. Here I am using 3 routers and 1 ASA firewall. I have already configured routers and ASA firewalls interfaces with IP addresses. Now we are going to see how to configure dynamic routing in Cisco ASA Firewall. In my previous video, I have already explained how to configure static routing in Cisco ASA Firewall. In dynamic routing, we are going to see RIP and OSPF. First, we are going to see RIP, Routing Information Protocol. In RIP, we have to use these 4 commands. The first one is to enable the RIP, we have to use router RIP command, and next command is version, which version we are going to use, version 2. The third command is we have to use the no auto summary command. Without this, RIP will summarize the subnets, so we have to use no auto summary. Next command is we have to issue the network. Here one drawback in RIP is it will use the classful networks only. It will not accept the classless subnets. So we have to use classful subnets. Now we will see how to configure RIP in routers and ASA firewall. First, I will open the console of router 1. This is R1 console. Here we can see the interface show IP interface brief command. Under this, we can see the status of all the interfaces. All the interfaces are configured with IP addresses. And we can see the routing table here. Only connected and local routes are available here. Now we will see how to configure RIP here. So I'll go to configuration mode. The first command is router RIP to enable RIP here. The next command is we have to use version 2. Next we have to enable no auto summary command. Next we have to use network command. First we are going to enable G00 interface 192.168.1.0. I'll put question mark here. There is no option for mentioning subnet mask. Here we can use only classful subnet. We can't use classless subnet. I'll give enter now. And next we are going to enable these 2 loopback interfaces 2.0 and 3.0. Now we have enabled RIP in all the 3 interfaces. I'll save these configurations. Now we can verify these configurations using show IP protocols command. Here we can see the routing protocol is RIP. And we can see here routing for the below networks. It enabled for 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0. These 3 networks are enabled for routing information protocol, and the gateway is routing information sources is 192.168.1.25. That is our ASAV firewall G00 interface. Next, I will go to router 2. In the router 2 console, we can see the interface status here using this command. All the 3 interfaces are configured with IP addresses. Here we can see for router 2 G00 interface and 2 loopback interfaces. And in the routing table, we can see only connected and local routes are available. Now we will configure the RIP. The command is router RIP. And next version 2, no auto summary. Next, we have to configure networks. We are going to configure for these three interfaces, G00 and loopback 0 and loopback 1. First, we will configure for G00. The IP address network is 15 dot. This is class A network, so we can give 15.0.0. And the next one is 20.0.0, loopback 0, and loopback 1 network is 30. So 30. Now I'll use show IP protocols command. Here we can see the routing protocol is RIP, and it configured routing for networks for these three networks 15.0.0, 20.0.0, and 30.0.0. And the routing information sources is gateway is 15.1.1.25, that is ASA Firewall G01 interface IP address. Next, we will go to router 3 console. In the router 3 console, we can see G00 interface is configured with IP address, and loopback interface also configured with IP address. And in the routing table, we can see we are having only connected and local routes. Now we will see how to configure RIP. The command is router RIP version 2. No auto summary. And we have to use this command network. Now we are going to configure this network, enable this network. 172, this is class B network. So I will use 172.16.0.0. This will enable the RIP in both the interfaces, interface G00 and loopback 0 interface. This we can check the show IP protocol command. RIP is configured here. RIP is configured, and we can check the interfaces. G00 and loopback interfaces are configured with RIP. As both G00 and loopback 0 interfaces are configured with class B IP network, the single command 172.16.0.0 enable RIP in both the interfaces, and the networks we have configured is 172.16.0.0. The gateway IP address is 172.16.1.25. That is the ASA Firewall's G02 interface. Next, we will go to Cisco ASA console. Here we can see in the routing table, all the connected and local routes are available. These three connected routes for router 192.168.1.0 and for router 2 15.1.1.0 and for router 3 172.16.1.0. Now we will check the connectivity between these three routers from firewall. First, I will ping the IP address of router 1.1. It's working. Next, I'll ping the IP address of router 2 1.15.1.1.2. It's also working fine. Next, I'll ping the IP address of router 3 172.16.1.3. Okay, now it is working fine. Now we'll configure the RIP in Cisco ASA. The command is router RIP version 2, no auto summary, and network. We will configure these three networks between router 1, router 2, and router 3. First, we will configure the network between router 1, 192.168.1.0. The next network between router 2, that is 15.1.1.0. Next, between router 3, network 172.16.0.0. Now we will check the routing table of Cisco ASA Firewall. Show route. Here we can see in the routing table the routes land with RIP routing protocol, that is referred as ARC. Now we can ping from ASA Firewall to the loopback interfaces. I will first ping the loopback interfaces of router 1, 192.168, 2.1. It is working fine. Now it has a reachability to loopback interface networks. Now I will ping the IP address of loopback interfaces in router 3, 172.16.2.3. It's also working fine. And in router 2, now I'll ping the IP address of router 2 loopback interfaces 20.1.1.2. It is also working fine. Now we have successfully configured routing information protocol, that is RIP, in Cisco ASA Firewall. This is how we have to configure dynamic routing in Cisco ASA Firewall. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.